In January 2012, a mysterious organization released an intricate puzzle on the internet, saying it was looking for highly intelligent individuals. The group issued a new puzzle the following 2 years, until its latest one couldn't be solved. It remains a mystery to those who still are trying to crack it 4 years later. No one knows who's behind the puzzle or how the latest piece can be decoded. Why do these solvers continue against all odds? And who might give us insight into the mind behind Cicada 3301?
The key has always been right in front of your eyes.
Code lock 3301.
Cicada believed they could sow a little seed of curiosity into the minds of people. To think about how to create a society in which the open exchange of information is encouraged. If Cicada has shown anything, it is they really like to get people to think about how things fit together and how they can be rearranged in order to create new things. It may put you on the map to intelligence agencies because you dabble with breaking encryption, and you dabble with a certain kind of hacker culture and ethos. You expose yourself, and you may be a threat to some people. I'm Brother Box. Actually, I don't want to talk about my age. People are not supposed to know my age, actually. I will just give a brief introduction about myself. My name is Brother Box. I live in Germany. I study IT security. I remember I played my first computer game at around 4. And I didn't understand much because they were all in English, and I kind of had to guess my way around. And that was actually a motivation for me to learn English, because I was tired of asking grown-ups what things meant. Only my brother knows that I'm at all into Cicada. I keep it away from most people, because most people don't connect with us very well. Hackers are driven by the urge to know things, and mostly about the things that they don't know. Because a hacker considers the fact that someone may forbid you to know something as a threat to their own curiosity. I believe that the people that are behind Cicada are driven by much the same mindset. When I started with Cicada, I was the guy who asked the questions. I was the guy who was slow at learning. Now I am the person that gets asked these questions. I like to believe that I'm one of the most rigorous and thorough members of our community. People value my word and my judgment. Our community is a bit different. When you're part of us, you're kind of part of us. And over time you form this bond. I first got to know Anon in 2012, but I've never met him. He is not necessarily a part of the core team, but I think this entire operation would be poorer without him.
Guten Abend.
Hey,
Alles klar.
wunderbar. Bei dir?
Ja, muss.
Arbeitet ihr gerade an irgendwas Aktuellem? Weil ich merke, dass ich mich so langweile, dass ich gerne Bock habe, ein bisschen wieder bei Cicada mitzumachen.
Cicada puzzles usually wrap up within a month. This puzzle has persisted and denied us any resolve for 3 years. I believe Liber Primus is solvable, but at this point only a very fresh mind can do it. Someone who looks at things in a completely different way.
Unsere Methode hat nicht unbedingt funktioniert, so wie wir das wollten. Und jetzt haben wir halt 11 Gigabyte an Statistiken. Und das bringt einfach nichts.
Die meisten Brüche in Verschlüsselung nicht an der Verschlüsselung selber sind oder irgendwie, dass du den mathematischen Kern knackst, sondern irgendwie außenrum, statistische Analysen, die Implementation, die Berührungspunkte, die Menschen, die es ausführen. Ich habe mir die Implementation von OneCool angeguckt.
Also er ist ja wirklich das mathematische Genie unserer Gruppe. Er hat das ja studiert, ich nicht. Ich bin ja ein studierter Plebejer.
Ich auch.
Werden wir überwacht? Ist der Stasi 3.0?
Ich glaube schon.
Sind gerade Kameras auf uns gerichtet?
Echt?
Mach's gut, Mann. Pass auf dich auf.
Du auch. Ciao.
Ciao.
To effectively solve Cicada, you have to have a very inquisitive mind and you have to be technically capable. And I believe that in Cicada's mindset, it was important to connect these people into one central hub. We took a lot of time and a lot of effort trying to solve Liber Primus, and I would like to resolve that piece of their legacy. So maybe we can all move on someday. It is that itch that you can't scratch, and you want to scratch it so bad.
Pause. Okay, so take a look. So this here is this message. Well, in 2016, it was a year and a half before they released this picture.
Mm-hmm.
You see these large blocks?
Yeah, that's outcast data, isn't it?
Yeah. So doesn't this look a lot like that tree? When I zoomed in on it on page 32.
Maybe that's an angle that we should at least think about. You see how on page, what is it, 57, we are using just good old gematria, right? Which I do not believe to be a coincidence. In 2013, we had gotten the translation from runes to English, and we didn't know what to do with them back then because we had no runes. But in 2014, we finally got the first runes. On the second to last page of the runes, they say, there is a page on the deep web, and it is the duty of every pilgrim to find this page.
For the longest time, we had no idea what it could be. We tried a lot of stuff on Tor, scanning Tor to find websites. We found some interesting stuff, but not Cicada.
The deep web is a vast and unmapped space, and unless you know what you want to find in it, you're probably not going to find it.
What if we used plain text on page 57 as the key on those pages 23 through 26? Because it's a mirrored mayfly, the same mayfly that's on 57?
Cool idea. Literally anything usable out of this possibly repeated words, it is going to be the most anyone's got on this in years.
Are the keys to breaking the Liber Primus hidden in history? The importance of cryptography and code breaking goes back millennia. As long as we've had a need to communicate, we've also had a need to keep those communications secret. Even Julius Caesar would send encoded messages for his generals to read on the battlefield. In much more recent history, the world as we know it might have been dramatically different if it weren't for England's own group of cryptographic solvers disrupting German communications during World War II. Bletchley Park was home to their top-secret code-breaking operation during the war. The German High Command would send encrypted messages all over the battlefields of Europe and North Africa.
By 1945, you've got nearly 10,000 people working here. 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, processing huge amounts of intelligence.
They were confident in the security of these highly sensitive communications because of their secret weapon. It was called Enigma.
Oh my gosh. That's it?
That's it. That's an Enigma machine. It's not a radio set, it doesn't communicate, it just encrypts. Let me show you how that happens?
Yes.
What this does is you press a letter, any key you like. I'm going to press P. You see Y has lit up.
Right.
The clever part is, if I press P again, I don't get Y, I get a different letter. For every key press, it completely changes the encryption. Knowing how it functioned was the start of the story, but it's not the end of the story by any means. What helped them break this machine, to understand the messages sent on it, was to understand basically how the operators misused it. The key to breaking Enigma was cribbing. If you could guess part of a message and you knew what letters spelt that plain text, you could then offer that up against the ciphertext and start to establish relationships. One of the mistakes the Germans made was to be predictable in their language. Common words were things like weather forecast, The Germans had weather ships out in the Atlantic that sent weather forecasts back every day. So every day they're sending a message, the first word of which is weather forecast. If you know which those messages are, you've got to crib into them. So you use the really dull, boring messages that you can guess the content of to unlock the ones that have the real secrets in.
How does the lessons of Enigma help us solve Cicada?
Just look at the sequence of runes. One option is to use cribs, to guess phrases that you think might be what that message says. And if you do that, you can then see patterns between the runes and your plaintext characters. And these are the tools that cryptographers have used throughout history.
Didn't you say that the English cribbed for German curse words?
Yeah, they did. They were cribbing for swears in German because they knew about the length of them and the Germans wouldn't stop swearing at each other. That and weather reports are the two biggest things they used for cribbing when trying to figure out what was in it.
And also the Heil Hitler.
Scheiße.
So Box.
That's me. I'm 12,000% fed up without guess. I don't want to hear that word ever again.
We're just going to go over what we've done in like the last week or so. The long and short of that is we got this giant list, which is every giant string of runes that you've tried to decrypt. It'll give you a numerical value of its fitness with English.
It looks like it has a great strength and a great weakness because it checks for n-grams in order, which could be helpful for partially decrypted words.
This was used when they were getting partial decryptions on Enigma. So that's what we did this weekend. I don't remember days. They all blend together.
We have done so much automation on this that the actual solution, if there is one, is probably one that has to be guided by a human brain.
Mm-hmm. We need something more advanced.
My point is we need to put our beautiful little heads to it.
Around 11 o'clock at night is usually when we all kind of get together for our hangouts. We go for maybe 3 or 4 hours, almost every night. I also spend some time outside of it thinking about it. There's a lot of that in computing where you're not working and typing it because you don't really know yet how to form it. You have to think it through and then you just go. People have been so burned out trying this. So many people have thrown up their hands. They get frustrated with this because it's like a big wall of text. If Craig could help us even decrypt one page, that would be the biggest break we've had since 2014.
Hey.
Hey, how's it going?
OneCool is connecting with Craig Bauer, one of the world's top crypto experts, in hopes of gaining some insight in order to crack the Liber Primus. Bauer's a former resident historian at the NSA and has literally written the book on famous unsolved puzzles.
Gematria Primus. This was what they revealed in one of the puzzles, and that was used directly to decode some pages. So it's a mapping from rune to English letter. Very last page of this, it translates directly here to P. The next one was A, so this says parable.
So was the last page the only one that was a substitution cipher?
That's a great question.
The second to last page was encrypted with a stream of numbers. So that gave us the message that said we had to seek out a page on the deep web. They said it's everybody's duty to find this page.
I mean, we know that Cicada is obsessed with prime numbers, forgetting about this rune correspondence. It sounds like they have really modern implementations like steganography and things you have to look for through outguess.
Yeah.
It's not just flat out math, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the key is text, in which case Friedman's attack and its generalizations would be a good approach.
William Friedman was a geneticist who took on cryptography as a hobby. He later became the first chief cryptologist at the NSA. Friedman invented a technique of putting two texts side by side and counting the number of times that identical letters appear in the same position in both texts. Friedman's attack looked at the frequency certain letters appeared and was thereby able to determine whether it was a simple or a complex encoded message. While this may not sound like much, it greatly reduces the nearly infinite possibilities you have to try on a puzzle like the Liber Primus.
So Friedman's attack would basically look at the pairings most likely to give you the letter you see.
So those very infrequent letters, then you can kind of discard and focus on the common English letters, right?
Yes, you might be missing a few letters where rarer letters came into play, but it would just be like reading a book with a lot of typos.
Really? Wow. That's fascinating, because it's kind of like taking the analysis we've done and really taking it a step further. Because I've never heard of that, and those are kind of the types of ciphers that are great to know about, because we've really been stuck and we can't drop the problem. So we're gonna try this, and I'll kind of get back to the guys about your thoughts on it. I'm sure you've been in this situation where you're like, I need to figure it out, and I can't just let it go because you're stubborn. And
Sure, I'm just pleased that it gave a little bit of a prod to someone to do better, and now maybe it'll come full circle and help us. If you weren't persistent, you wouldn't be attacking ciphers. I mean, it demands that kind of personality.
Yeah.
Nox and I are headed to meet Elonka Dunin. She's a noted codebreaker, best known for her expertise with the CIA's Cryptos puzzle. She even runs her own solving community, attempting to break the puzzle's famous last section.
Can you help us put Cicada in some type of context of, crypto puzzles, of the larger world that you're so familiar with?
You know more about the details of what's going on, because I have people send me codes 2-3 times a week.
I can actually show you if you want.
Sure.
Typically, the sort of classical cryptography, letter shifting, Vigenère, all that sort of style of cryptography, they don't do as much of. A lot of what they've done has been like RSA breaking.
Techie.
So this really, we were kind of unprepared for what they gave us, which is 58 encrypted pages. Either every section or every page has a different encoding, like encryption.
Okay.
We've only decrypted 2 in 3 years. You're welcome to look through it as much as you want. This one, the key was, it's a running key the length of the page. It's the totient of the prime sequence. So it's, like where you see, see the issues we're having. We've been doing a lot with the log probabilities of quadgrams and trigrams.
Ooh, okay, good.
And
you really want to solve this. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So I'm just trying to build my mental maps. So I'm just brainstorming, as I'm looking through this. So the first thing is I'm looking at the marginalia. Is it the same on each page?
No, and almost none of it we've actually identified what it's supposed to be.
This looks like bacon. I don't mean edible bacon. I mean Francis Bacon.
Really?
Right, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I'd never...
Okay, keep going.
I never heard that.
This also could be a Bacon cipher. So I tend to think about the psychology of whoever's creating this. Whoever's creating these is thinking, wow, I got a lot of smart people that are going to crack this within weeks, days. I got to make something really hard. Let's assume that it's the same person, that it's one person. I would want to see all the different puzzles that they've done kind of all lined up. That's one of the ways I crack codes, is not cracking the code, but understanding the mind of who created the code. Like some of these hacker codes that I've cracked, some of it is code solving, but some of it is, okay, who wrote this? Okay, it was this guy. It was the guy who runs the convention. Okay, when did he write this? He probably wrote it the day before the convention because he was late on everything else. So he's sleep deprived. He's probably drunk. What kinds of mistakes are they going to make? They're, instead of shifting left, they're going to shift right. And I'm starting like, oh, look, there's the word the, right? And then the rest of it just kind of zips open. Right. But what if there is no answer? What if someone created this and they're obviously computer savvy, and maybe they wrote something to generate random runes. So this dump may not be solvable.
It's absolutely crossed my mind and kind of horrified me that I might be working on something impossible.
You want to see this solved, I can tell. You got the fire. Why?
I mean, for me, in the long run, if Cicada's unsolvable, if I never find out who it is, the things I've learned, especially, and the people I've met and learned from them along the way has been so worth it that if it's a 17-year-old kid laughing about it, that's fine, because I learned this much about cryptography.
Elonka made a great point when she said we needed to get into the mind of the creator. We found a great potential lead. He's one of the world's top puzzle makers, and he created a game with a connection to Cicada we can't ignore. Adrian Hahn is a leader in the field of what's called ARGs, or alternate reality games. His clients include corporations and media outlets looking to build buzz around their content, and his games have been played by millions of devoted fans.
Does it surprise you that puzzles and secret codes so appeals to us?
You know, people want to believe that there is a sense of order in the universe. You know, you have people who, from the dawn of time, they look up and they look at the stars and they think, why are the stars in these shapes? You know, why is there a flood today? There's always been this appeal of people trying to understand the world and other people trying to create puzzles to hide knowledge, maybe to make themselves seem more mysterious or more powerful than they really are.
In early 2011, your approach to create a suite of puzzles in support of this BBC show on mathematics called Decode.
Correct. They want to make mathematics more interesting for a younger audience. Young people like games, so let's see if we can go and turn learning how mathematics interacts with nature into the TV show. Everything from prime numbers, geometry, and how birds flock together, and we think, how can we use those concepts in a treasure hunt and weave them into the program?
As you know, the one that interests us most is the very first one. Why cicadas?
Cicadas are known for having a gestation period which is linked to prime numbers. Prime numbers are at the heart of nature and the heart of mathematics.
That puzzle comes out in June 2011.
Yeah.
6 months later, Cicada 3301 makes its international debut.
It's a big coincidence.
There are some people who have brought up the fact that whoever's behind Cicada 3301 would have to be a very accomplished game maker.
Sure.
You would be a candidate to be that person.
That's true. I mean, Cicada 3301 has a lot in common with the games we've made. I think that's one big difference, is that normally when we make alternate reality games, we do it for money. And it's not so clear to understand where the funding for Cicada 3301 is coming from.
Would you be disappointed or secretly thrilled if 30 years from now we still don't know who Cicada 3301 is?
I'd be delighted if no one knows in 30 years. Because I think that when most of these puzzles that we make are made to be solved, and clearly this is a very different one. Not everything has to be solved overnight. Maybe it'll take 50 years or 100 years, and it's better for that.
My name is Shadow Walker, and I live on the internet now.
The game is, can you keep your identity secret?
We do amazing things here at NSA.
Every time there's this government intervention, you're going, okay, which side are we getting?
This is the world that we're living in. This is why we need Cicada.
If you release this tool and you save somebody's life, is it still a game?